front of a closed door and you intend to go in the room. You open the door and you find two people in there or three people in there maybe arguing or having a discussion, and it's intense enough that you feel, I want to get out of here. I don't want to be in this room. And we find that you may hear the noise on the other side of the door, and we may just decide, I don't want to have anything to do with that. I'm a little more than I want to do today. We get this story from the Gospel of Mark this morning, which in many ways reminds me of an incident like that, where we have Jesus who goes into this house and is confronted by this woman, this Gentile woman, this Syrophoenician woman, who by tradition, he would not be allowed to have anything to do with Jesus proclaiming the good news of God, the food. And this woman who is a Gentile, who is a non-believer, it would have been not only a theological distance that he would have been forced to have kept, but a social distance. They would have not been on the same ground. Jesus would have had nothing to do with this woman. Yet this woman was desperate. Her child needed healing. So she approaches Jesus because she knows Jesus can do something about it. And as she approaches Jesus, although it's not said in the gospel at all, one has to try to project a little bit onto the scene and imagine that Jesus is gathered with some of his disciples, some of his friends, and this woman walks in, and there had to be some people that thought, oh no, here we go. Or perhaps the woman gets ready to approach Jesus, and someone tries to interfere and to block her so that she cannot get anywhere near Jesus. You kind of have this sense that this was a confrontation that someone wanted to back away from. Someone was trying to create some distance. This woman was persistent. And even though Jesus tells her that the food needs to be saved for the children of Israel who need to hear the word, the food that Jesus is referring to, this woman counters back that even the dogs can eat crumbs under the table. It's a very intimate exchange of dialogue because in reality, Jesus gets vested with his own dialogue. Jesus, as far as legal arguments go, Jesus has been trumped on this one. And he knows it. He's been, in some ways, perhaps he feels as if he's been put in his place. Perhaps everyone in the room, as they have gathered, have witnessed not just the healing of this woman's child as Jesus promises, but perhaps the greater healing that has taken place between the woman and Jesus, between all those gathered, and all those who think that the woman stands for everything that they hate. Maybe there has been a healing. Maybe a great chasm has been drawn together and they have bridged that chasm. Maybe people have been pulled together because of this healing. Maybe it's not just about one child, but it's about all of us. Even James, in his letter, the great moral discourse, tremendous theology that is taking place in James' letter, and by all rights, some prophetic outrage. James is addressing people who have decided who is right and who is wrong. They feel more righteous over the rich than they do over the poor, and they are segregating individuals. James is trying to talk to people about faith, but not just faith alone, but faith with words. That simply proclaiming righteousness does not make us right. By saying that we are the true believers doesn't necessarily make us the true believers. Saying that we are Christian now doesn't make us Christian. What James is trying to say is that it takes more than just words. We have to back it up. We have to have some words involved with it. We have to enter into the conversation. We have to enter into the fray. Maybe we need to walk into that room and enter in and get our hands a little messy. You know, it's kind of hard these past few weeks to not watch the news and to just, frankly, be fed up with the attitude that we as fellow Americans have had towards The idea that we're taking guns to rallies. The idea that we can't even have a dialogue over a very important issue, such as health care. That we have decided that if we just scream louder than the other person in the room, that makes us right. I would say that neither one of us makes it right. Either side of the argument. That when we need to look at this, we need to have a dialogue. Not over just this issue, but all the issues that confront us as people, confronts the church. We need to be able to not be afraid to get in and get our hands a little dirty sometimes. James is trying to get us to recognize that very same thing. Can you imagine what these political arguments would look like if we simply threw in this one little phrase from James where he says, mercy triumphs over judgment? The political discussions that we've been having over these past few months is all about judgment. It's all about one group thinking they are more right than the others. Can you just imagine for a moment what it would be like if we threw mercy into the discussion? Just replace the judgment with mercy. What the Bible is asking us to do. It's what James is asking us to do. It's what this woman who comes to Jesus to ask for the healing of her daughter asking to do. Provide less judgment